Welcome to the Game Changer Podcast. I'm your host, Elisha Bryant, and we got a special guest with us today. We got Corey all the way from Houston. How you doing, bro?
Good, man. Good, man. I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So let's bring him back. Let's talk about your upbringing.
Man, how far you want me to go, man? I usually start this at like high school. I'm from all over, man. I actually was born in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, I lived there till I was 5. Moved up to Virginia, Norfolk, like Virginia Beach area. High school in Georgia, and then I joined the military. And
Dang, so you bounced all around.
All around, man. And then after the military, it was Indiana, and then from Indiana to Texas. But Houston is home. I love Houston, so yeah, man.
You said high school, right? So what made you actually want to get into the military?
Military family, to be honest. Dad, stepdad, grandpa. But the crazy thing is I didn't even know I could join. Like, I didn't know that it was just like open to everybody. Like, you could just sign up, take a test, whatever. I didn't even know that until like 10th grade. 10th grade rolled around. I was like, bro, I don't want to go to school.
Yeah.
Don't know what I'm going to do. I was like, I want to join the military. Like, for sure, that's what I want to do. So I actually like enlisted into the Marines in 11th grade going into my senior year. I was 17. My parents had to sign for me.
Wow.
So like as soon as I graduated high school, bro, I was gone.
You was gone.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that was a good decision?
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Like, I wish I'd have stayed in, to be honest. I did 4 years. I was in from 2013 to 2017. Got out in 2017. Definitely should have stayed in for at least another 4, but hindsight's 2020, right?
Facts. So what did you learn from the military?
Bro, a lot. I was in the infantry. I don't know if you're familiar with what the infantry is, what they do. Is the easiest way to explain it is when I tell people is like when you think of like Call of Duty, like people on the front lines with the guns, like shooting. Yeah, that's the easiest way to explain it for people who really just don't know. So it's like you're training for war, essentially, like guns, shooting, drills, all that constantly. Deployed to Japan twice, went to Spain, went to Norway, traveled all over. I mean, it was great. But yeah, got out in 2017 and.
Well, thank God that you're still here with us. Front line, those are usually, the ones that don't really make it that far, But what got you into real estate then? What did you do after the military? Was it strictly straight to the real estate or did you do something else?
Not at all, bro. So I'll say this, I think, and you probably feel the same way, I think everybody knows deep down, like you hear it at some point, someone says like, if you want to be wealthy, you got to get into real estate. Like everyone's wealthy through real estate in one way or the other, right?
For sure.
So after I got out, bro, I was working odds and end jobs, like heating and air conditioning, water mitigation, demolition. I was working at a bar in downtown Houston, just all kinds of random shit. And, came across the Max Maxwell podcast on YouTube, actually.
Shout out to Max.
Yeah, shout out Max, man. Shout out Max. He was one of the OGs of wholesaling, obviously. Came across one of his videos, and then that, of course, led me down like a rabbit hole, wholesaling, essentially. I found Brent Daniels, the TTP program, all that, and I kind of just dove in. It happened during COVID, like the 2020, like COVID 2020. Lockdowns.
Yeah.
I got furloughed, let go essentially from my job downtown, and they were like, we'll call you when we're ready for you to come back, So I was like, damn, what am I gonna do? Lockdowns came, COVID hit, people are sitting in their houses all day, every day, not doing anything. But I was watching 10 hours a day of Walking Dead, not doing shit. And stumbled across YouTube, like I said, found Max Maxwell. And I've told this story before, but I found out about wholesaling on a Monday, and I was cold calling on Wednesday.
Wow,
I just jumped
you ain't waste no time. And that's important that you said that, right? Because I have students that, the ones that start right after getting the information, those are usually ones that get the most success because they don't waste no time. So, you didn't get a mentor or nothing. You was just watching the YouTube videos and then just applying from that?
So, yes and no. I bought the TTP program right out the gate. I didn't have the money or anything. I I had a credit card. And I even talked to my dad. I was like, Dad, should I buy this? And I remember my dad, he said something. He was like, you're going to pay for your education one way or another. That's what he said. Whether I buy it with a credit card or spend some money, or I do it on my own and I lose deals and I literally lose money. Like one way or another, you're going to pay. And I was like, all right, you know what, I'm going to do it. So I put it on my credit card, put the TTP program up there, and then went through the course, and like just step by step, as I would do the course, I would take that next step, pull the list, you know, pick my area, whatever, just dump.
So you were starting out with houses. Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you get your first deal? Did you get your first deal doing houses?
Yeah, man, that was rough. I was cold calling in Houston. For anybody who knows anything about Houston, the wholesaling space, I don't like to say or use terms like competitive, saturated, but it is. There's a lot of other people wholesaling houses or trying to wholesale houses in Houston. Yeah. So yeah, cold call. You cold call hot zip codes in Houston, and you're getting cussed out constantly. So it took me 4 months, bro. Like 4 months to land my first house wholesale deal. I made $5,000. Really, it was like breaking even, you know, because after lists, time, the course, you name it, bro. It was like, I had already spent money, so. Yeah, $5,000 on my first house.
How'd that $5,000 feel though?
It's the proof of concept. I mean, for sure, because you're talking, I'm 4 months, you know what I mean? 4 months of cold calling. I was sitting on the dialer, bro, like 3 to 5 hours a day.
Sheesh.
Hundreds of calls, follow up, doing the coursework, really like immersing myself in it. And so when I finally got that check, when it finally happened, I was like, bro, this is, I mean, $5,000, right? But I had never seen like a $5,000 check.
I tell people this all the time, you know, before actually doing the land and houses, you know, the biggest check was around $3,000.
Yeah.
So seeing like a 5 or a 10,000 or 14,000 for my first deal, that shit felt amazing, you know. But what kept you going? Because most people, you know, 4 months, that's some good time. That's over 90 days, right? Yeah. What kept you going to strive to get that first deal?
Bro, honestly, it was kind of like, so I was 26 at the time. I was 26. I'm married. My wife has like she's got a bachelor's degree. She's got a career-ish job. She's a teacher. And I was 26, you know, working at a bar. I don't have a degree. I'd gotten out of the military. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, where I wanted to go. I was like, bro, if I'm gonna pick something now, like I have to stick to it. I had tried other little shit before, you know, flipping furniture, garage, you know, all the stupid hustle shit. Yeah. And you know, just didn't really stick with anything. So this one, something that just clicked in me was like, yo, if you're gonna do this, if you're gonna do anything, you have to start like sticking with it and just putting your head down. Do the work, don't quit when it's hard. You know, before it was like a little obstacle would get in my way, and I'd be like, this isn't for me, you know. Now it's just different, you know, and especially once I got that deal, bro, it was it was done from there. I was like, okay, if I can do it once, I'm gonna do this. I can keep doing it, you know.
For sure. So what'd you do after that? Did you get strictly into land? Did you do more house deals?
Man, so I found a local mentor actually by bandit signs. So there's some bandit signs in the area, you know, like the We Buy Houses and Land signs. And I knew from listening to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast that, you know, there's other wholesalers. So I'm like trying to network and everything. I called one of them, and I figured, oh, well, if they're putting signs out there, experience. Yeah. Let me get a local mentor, someone who I can like touch base with, you know, and be in person. I hit him up, was like, hey, will you mentor me? You know, basically just reached out for mentorship. He was like, he actually agreed. Well, kind of. He was like, let's go out to lunch. Went out to lunch. He was like, well, if I'm going to mentor you, you got to read these books first. And he recommended like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, like the basic ones, right? And I was like, well, that's cool, but I already read those. Like, I did, and I had already read them. So, yeah, he was doing land. Long story short, he was doing land, and he told me, because he kind of saw me spinning my wheels with houses, cold calling and everything. He was like, bro, do land. And I was like, what do you mean do land? Like, what are you talking about? He was like, I'll get you the list, but it's really the same concept. You're going after these infill lots, you know, in these neighborhoods. You contract them at a lower price, you assign them to a new buyer, whatever. Yeah. And the timeline is getting a little blurry at this point because I've been doing this for about 4 years now. But I think it only took me another 3 months or so to land my first land deal, and that was way bigger.
Let's talk about that deal.
That one if you want.
Yeah, let's talk about that deal. So 3 months, you get your first deal. After 4 months, now you go get a mentor, right? He's telling you, read these books, do land. Yeah. You know what? You like, you know what? I'm gonna try it. So it takes 3 months. right? So how'd you get that first deal?
So again, cold calling. He was buying the list, if I remember correctly, and a deal we had was just he'll pay for the list, give it to me, I'll call it. Any leads I get, I'll send to him. He'll comp them, and then I'm doing acquisitions. Essentially, like I'm making the offers, I'm doing the negotiations, whatever. And so I'm calling a land list in South Houston, which kind of like up and coming area. I come across this commercial lot, 1.5 acres in South Houston, and some guy who I was supposed to be calling, his assistant answers the phone, and she's like, "This is so and so with such and such company," and I'm like, "Okay, it was an LLC.
Yeah,
the property was owned by an LLC." And I was like, "Well, would Mr. So and so consider selling this land?" And she's like, "Yeah, he will. Make us an offer essentially." So I'm like, "Okay, whatever." Mentor comps it, gives me the numbers. He's like, "It's worth $175. We're gonna offer $75,000." I was like, "Bro," and me being new, you know what I mean? I'm like, he's not gonna take that. You know what I mean? Like, why would he ever take that deal? Sent him the contract, and bro, like I remember when my mentor sent the contract via DocuSign, and you can see on DocuSign, when they view it, like it was quick. He viewed it, signed it within minutes. Like quick, and I was like, bro, what the hell? And my mentor, and I've told this story before too, like on the TTP, like Wholesaling Inc. podcast. I remember my mentor texted me, and he said, "You're gonna make somebody's salary on this deal." That's what he said. And I was like, all right, bro, I like your confidence, but like, this doesn't really mean much to me yet. And long story short, bro, he closed on it with hard money. So he actually bought it, $75K. We got the seller out of the way, and then we relisted it on the MLS, $175. We sold it, I want to say it was about a month. $175. Yeah, so we're talking a $100K spread, but we had to pay, the real estate agents and then some closing costs and some hard money costs. When it was all said and done, it was like $67,000 that we split. 60% him because he took all the risk, 40% me, but I made 27 grand. And bro, picking up that check, picking up that check was that was what like flipped the switch in my mind. Like, oh, $27,000 off of 2 calls and an email and some waiting.
And that's why I tell people all the time, and this is why I love land, because it's very similar to houses. You're doing the cold calling, you're getting a list, the same processes, but it's not that many people making offers on these land deals compared to houses. Yeah. So that person, he probably only got called probably a few amount of times, the seller. Yeah. So when you offer that 75, you send him that contract, he's not even second guessing. Yeah. With the house, they're gonna second guess because they're getting called so much. They're like, "You know what? Maybe I could get more." Yeah. So 100%. And the thing is too, is like, I don't even know what his motivation was, to be honest, because he was like a pretty established businessman, to my understanding. Yeah. I never even talked to the dude directly. I only talked to his assistant. Wow. So never talked to the dude. Wow. So now you got that 27,000. How does that feel? Bro, that shit is life-changing. Yep. Straight up. Hold up. Yes, sir. My fault. And you're good. And this is why I tell people, like I said, land is the game changer, because, it's a few conversations and you can land that first deal. And, now he made 27,000. Did you get your next deal right after? Did it take some time? Bro, so my mentor was telling me, he's like, you got to stop cold calling. He's like, cold calling is like labor intensive. My fault. You good. He's like, you got to do mail. And I was like, bro, I don't have the money for mail. Yeah. He's like, we just made, $27,000, So I'm like, all right. Because at that point I've been cold calling for, 8 months. I was like, bro, I'm tired of this. Like, so sick of it. So I sent out my first mail campaign after that, and I've been doing direct mail ever since. But how does it feel, bro? It's crazy. Like, it literally changed. Brent says it, it changes like the chemistry of your brain when your efforts pay off and you see that you get that amount of money. You're like, bro, like, what's possible? If I can make $27,000 off of a couple phone calls, an email, some waiting, how much can I make? How far can I take this? Exactly. So let's talk about your process right now, right? In terms of your land business. So you say your marketing is mail. Yeah. How does that look? Like, what's the first steps? If somebody's brand new, what is the first steps of your mailing campaigns look like? Yeah, so it's got to be picking an area, of course, and there's a few easy ways. If you're brand new to this, I say just go where other people are going. If there's
competitive areas, Houston, Florida, North Carolina. If other people are doing what you want to do, just go to that area because y'all can work together, obviously. But it's as simple as picking an area, pulling your list. For land, I don't know about you, like we haven't talked about this, but like I don't stack motivations, so to say. I'm not doing like tax delinquent, liens or anything like that. It's literally just vacant land in the zip code that I want to be in, certain size, whatever size is selling. And then have they owned it for 3 years.
So you're reaching just out to everybody.
Yeah, it's like a shotgun approach. Like if you own land in this area, you're going to get a postcard from me for the most part. Like I said, the only filter I really do is like the 3-year minimum ownership, maybe 5 years. And sometimes if I really want to niche down, it'll be like 10 years ownership.
So when these people call you, they're like, I got your postcard. How does those conversations look? Yeah,
so my postcard is pretty straightforward too. It's like a 4x6 postcard that says, hey, my name's Corey. I'm a local investor. I buy land in the area. If you're looking for a quick and easy sale, reach out today, get an offer. I pay more than others. I cover all closing costs. Reach out today. So people call and they're like, hey, Corey, I got your postcard. What will you give me? And that's when I'm like, hey, okay, I got to get a little bit of information from you, and then I'll go do my due diligence. And then I'm really just comping it. Once I know the value, I'm essentially in Houston, for instance, which your process is probably different, your offer percentages and everything. But in Houston, it's like 50%. Like whatever the market value is, I'm usually just cutting it right in half, and I'm starting at 50 because any lower than that in Houston, you're going to get laughed out of. You're not going to do any business. So
for sure,
50%.
So you give them this 50% offer. Is like most saying, no, I don't want that. Do most of these people know what their lot is worth when they're calling you from the mail?
So it really just depends. I mean, it depends on the area. In the hotter zip codes, like the inner city neighborhoods where they're kind of like revitalizing, gentrifying, so to say, that kind of stuff, the more trendy areas, closer to downtown, a lot of those sellers know that they're sitting on like something good, and a lot of them live in the area. Like that's one thing I will say about Houston is people don't leave Houston. So even if they own this lot in Houston, they still live in the area. Like they don't leave. So they have an idea of all the stuff that's going on.
For sure.
But it's still a numbers game. You know that. Most people, no matter what, whether they live in the town or not, like they're saying no. They don't want your offer. 9 out of 10 people say no. So.
Is there ever a time where like they say no on that first call, but then they call you back like, Corey, I was thinking about your offer. We can move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, that happens more and more as I get better and better as I progress in this. Like, because I make competent offers based on comps. I give my sellers like information. There's a lot of like wholesalers out there and people who are doing this business that I don't think go to the level that I do to say, well, your property is actually worth this much based on the comps, this and that. And some sellers just appreciate that. But yeah, I've definitely had sellers come back and be like, hey, you offered me this 3 months ago. I wasn't ready, but now I am. And yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about a mail deal that you closed.
Man, well, this is a good one because people don't believe me. I don't know if you've dealt with this, but like, has anyone ever tried to give you land for free?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
That's something. So that happened in Houston, surprising. Guy calls me off my postcard. He's like 92 years old. Okay. So owns multiple properties in Houston. One of them he was going to sell to me for like 20. It was worth 50. So still a really good deal. But like there were so many title issues with it. Like I just couldn't figure it out. It just like couldn't be cured. At that time. So I was like, dang, well, you got anything else? He was like, yeah, I got this other one. He's like, but honestly, Corey, I'll just give it to you. He's like, I'm 92. I got no kids. He's like, I don't want it. I don't want to pay the taxes on it. Every motive, he's just checking all, my head's just, man, all right. So I comp it and I'm like, bro, it's worth 30 grand, And me being, I don't know, call it dumb, having a good conscience, I was like, I can't take it for free. I was like, I'll give you $5,000 for it. So I bought it for $5,000 and I sold it a week later on the MLS for $29,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was going to give it to me for free. For free.
That's another, even though I never been through that situation, that's another reason why I love land. Cause I heard that story before where people get these lots for like dirt cheap. Yeah. Where like $200 and they could sell it for $15,000.
Yeah.
So I know you was excited.
I was kind of, I didn't believe it at first, and this was actually like somewhat recently. So I had already done deals, I had experience, but I hadn't experienced the whole like him giving it to me for free thing. So when he said he was just gonna give it to me, I was like, bro, what are you talking about? It was wild, yeah, I mean.
Wow.
So I think I made like 21 or 22 after commissions and all that, and it took a week. So it's like, bro, that's wild. Yeah.
What does your team look like now? Are you a one-man show? Because I know with mailing, you don't really need that many people.
Yeah.
So are you?
Especially in like an area like Houston where you're not getting blown up with phone calls. Because like we were talking about it earlier, it's pretty competitive. So these sellers that I'm mailing, they're already getting cold called, they're getting texts, they're getting emails, they're getting Facebook ads, like they're getting hit. So if I send out 5,000 mailers in Houston, I might get 10 phone calls. Like that's no exaggeration, like that's nothing, right? It's nothing.
Yeah.
So my team, up until literally 2 months ago, was me. And real estate agents who would sell my properties. But I just recently outsourced all my inbound calls to Pat Live, and I'm like ramping up my mail though. So, and I'm kind of getting out of Houston.
What is Pat Live?
So it's an answering service. So like I route my, like my mail piece has a phone number on it. They call that phone number, but instead of it coming to me, it goes to an answering service, and they're all like American-based caller representatives, and it's more professional. They have like a script, so when someone calls in and says, "Hey, this is Joe. I got a postcard," you know, the first thing the person on the other end of the line says is like, "Hey, this is Yvette with Veteran Land Solutions. Do you want to sell your property?" And then they have a list of like criteria that they've got to gather from the seller. So yeah, a little bit more professional.
What made you like, because with me, I have a little bit of trust issues, you know? Like what made you, because we're spending money on these, you know, campaigns. So what made you even trust having a service like that?
Well, that's a good question, because I literally have been doing this for like almost 4 years. And like I said, I just outsourced like 2 months ago. And it was for that reason. I just didn't trust people. I mean, acquisitions is like the lifeblood of the business. You know that.
Exactly.
You know, if you're not acquiring deals, it's like there's no business. So I had a really hard time passing that off. But finally I was like, bro, if I'm going to scale any higher than what I'm currently doing, I got to outsource. I got to have someone else answering the phones, because it got to a point where I'd be at the beach, or I'd be like out to dinner with my wife, or I'd be doing all these things and the phone would ring and I'd be like, I'm not trying to take this call right now. And then I'd forget about it and leads would get swept under the rug, and it was like, what am I doing, you know? So got to outsource.
So now that you're outsourcing, are you doing anything different in your business, or looking to do anything different?
Really, it's just spend more money on mail.
Okay.
Spend more money on mail, maybe bring on like an admin VA, because you get bogged down really quick. You know, once you have multiple deals under contract, multiple deals in escrow, like you can get really wrapped up in the transaction and then not acquiring new deals. So it's like, I gotta probably bring someone on for that. But other than that, man, my intention with my business is just small. Me, Pat Live, maybe an admin VA, and then like agents to sell my deals in Dispo.
Okay, so you're not selling to builders, you're going straight to real estate agents?
Yeah, because I'll actually buy most of my deals, so I self-fund. When I started wholesaling 4 years ago, I didn't have the money to do that. But after like closing all these deals, I save like 80% of the money, just stack cash. And now it's just gotten to a point where like I buy all my deals. So it's way easier in my opinion. This is just one of those like tangents that one of those opinions I have, to get the seller out of the way, actually take ownership. And then once you own it, I mean, you've got multiple exit strategies anyway. You can do more with it as the owner than, you know, trying to assign it. So
for sure,
got more time.
That's how we actually been increasing our, you know, deal sizes, by buying these lots, putting it on the market, and then selling it, you know, on the market to everybody, because everybody gets to see it. You know, in terms of comping and analyzing a deal, is there any tricks or strategy?
A non-disclosure state, you know, so like if you get on like Zillow, Redfin, Trulia, or all these other websites to look at like property sales data, you can't see the sale prices. So my trick is get MLS access, and you can do that, you know, even if you're brand new, you can do that by just networking at your local like REI events or whatever with agents, newer agents, you know, like approach your newer agents, say, hey, I'm an investor, I buy and sell land, I wholesale houses, whatever it is, in exchange for, you know, any deals that I bring to you for listings, could I get MLS access, something along those lines. That's what I did. I have MLS access in Houston, and I'm not licensed. So I have access to sold comps. You know, you need access to sold data. So
you gotta network. You gotta network with realtors, especially if you're in these non-disclosure states, because they got the blueprint basically on analyzing deals.
You can see, if you can see what something, and that's what I tell people too, it's like, I didn't understand fully how people make competent, like good, solid offers and be confident in their offers without being able to see what properties have sold for. You know what I mean? Like if you don't know what it's worth, how can you make a good offer? So you got to get
confident
access.
offer. You know, at that. So now in terms of like being an entrepreneur, like what made you actually take that leap into that entrepreneurship?
Well, so backtrack to COVID again, I was kind of forced into it. Like, you know, it sounds weird to say, but like COVID was kind of good for me. Like the whole COVID experience, because it really brought out like my inner entrepreneur. I mean, I started like a mobile food business, like a hot dog cart, you know, like one of those New York style hot dog carts, bro. I had one of those. I was working at breweries, but I was making like $200, $300, $400 a night sometimes, like cake. But that was like, I'm not trying to like do manual labor forever.
For sure.
That's what led me into real estate. And then
COVID brought out the hustle. Like if you was a hustler, COVID showed it.
Yeah, 100%. So I was kind of forced into it initially because I was like, I don't want to just be sitting at home, literally not doing anything, collecting like unemployment because of the lockdowns. So then fast forward, I actually became a cop. Like I was flipping land for like a year and a half, full time, just by default. Like I said, kind of fell into it. But I wanted to be a cop, so I like went and got hired by a police department. I was a cop for almost 2 years, and then I just recently quit the cop thing, but I was like flipping land while I was a cop. And yeah, bro, now you do, I mean, 9 to 5s are all the same, you know what I mean? No matter what, at the end of the day, someone tells you where to be, when to be there, when you can take time off, you know, and I was like, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just not trying to do it.
Especially when you experience the freedom. It's hard from experiencing that freedom and then going back to that 9 to 5.
100%, yeah. So I actually just left the department back in October. So it's only been, you know, a few months of me being back out on my own. But yeah, bro, I'd rather do this any day of the week.
For sure. So like in terms of like, what are your, let's say 2024 could go perfect, right? What does that look like for you?
Man, well, so I'm already pivoting. Like you do almost strictly infill lots, right? And that's kind of what I've been doing, but I hit it off with another dude on Instagram, Jack Carter. He's also a land flipper out of Colorado. And we kind of just realized we were at like the same stages in our business, same kind of marketing budgets, same deal, like everything. So we're like, you know what, let's put our forces together, put our marketing budgets together, both of our brain power, you name it. Let's just do this thing together. So I'm pivoting pretty much. I'm leaving Houston. I'm going almost completely rural, like rural, recreational, nationwide. And so I guess in a perfect world, 2024, I'll be in 5-10 new markets, closing, you know, high 5-figure, whale deals essentially, high 5-figure rural vacant land deals, and then hopefully do my first subdivide or something, like a big multi 6-figure subdivide or something.
And that's another thing with land. There's so many different strategies. You could do the infill, you could do the rural, you could do farmland, you could subdivide. So, you know, I tell people this all the time. When you're focusing on what we do, the infill, that's the beginning stage. But then you graduate into bigger developments and learning different strategies, what you're doing now. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, I've got opinions about which one's better, infill versus rural. All I've really done is infill, so like I obviously don't mind doing it. There's pros and cons to both. You know, the Apke brothers talk about it pretty heavily. Like a lot of people talk about it, but I think the biggest pro to opening up or pivoting, I would say, to recreational or like rural land from infill lots is just the buyer's pool is way bigger. You know, when you're selling an infill lot, you pretty much only have one exit, and that's a builder or someone who's going to build on it. With rural vacant land, man, like you could do anything you want. You know, if you buy 100 acres in Mississippi, it's like, bro, no one's gonna tell you what you can do with it. It's unrestricted, so the whole world could be your buyer.
So like in terms of like your first steps into the rural vacant land, because I'm actually interested in this too. Are you just pulling the same list, like just rural vacant land, like how you do with infill, sending them mail, and then getting those calls and then comping after that first conversation? Yeah, it's, I mean, there is that route, because like, I don't know when you send, because you send mail, right? Yeah. So do you do like a neutral letter or like a postcard or a blind offer? A street view letter. Okay, but is there an offer in it, or is it, okay, so it's neutral. That's what we do, neutral postcards, essentially just, hey, my name's Corey, you've got 100 acres here in this county, if you want to sell it, give me a call.
have these conversations. This is the conversation I was having with my partner Jack, is like, you know, because we were kind of scared to leave the infill space and go into the rural recreational, because it is kind of different. But at the end of the day, the model is the same. If you send out 10,000 pieces of mail or 10,000 text messages, if you make 1,000 cold calls, there is somebody in that list who has this piece of land, whether it's an infill lot or it's 50 acres, who inherited it, who's paying taxes on it, who doesn't want anything to do with it. It's a headache. Yeah. And they're gonna call and they're gonna take whatever you're gonna give them. So, I mean, it's the same.
It's just finding that deal.
Yeah, and all it takes is one,
Yep, one deal could change your life, y'all. So, is there any last words you wanna give the viewers?
Man, I'm not too articulate, you know. I'm a shoot first, ask later kind of guy. Get started. You know, there's a whole lot of fluff in this space, in the wholesaling, real estate. You know, there's a lot of fluff, a lot of influencers who push fluff. There's nothing to it but to do it. You know, literally, like I said, I found out about it on Monday. I was cold calling by Wednesday. You know, at some point you have to execute. Just get started. You're not going to know everything. Just go get started. That's all I can say.
Take action, y'all. So where can the viewers follow you at?
So I'm really only like on Instagram. It's at flipping some land. I'm heavy on Instagram. If you got deals in Texas, send me your deals. I buy. Like, I will be your buyer. I'll pay you an assignment fee. We can JV. I'll help you comp deals, help you lock up deals anywhere in Texas, especially Houston or Metro Houston. Hit me up on IG.
And make sure y'all tap in with us, all right? And take action. Like he said, there's nothing to it but to do it. Game changers.